Neighbor, neighbor, is your boy Trini Trent, and I think it's time we had a little conversation. Just a little chat. I know it's been a long time since you've seen me. A very long time. I have been off the radar now for about 9, maybe 10 months. Some of they probably even had churn in that time. You know, that's how they think this work, even in a pandemic. But, you know, before I just turn on the camera and dive into like a pop culture conversation, I just wanted to give you all a bit of context, some perspectives, so you can understand where I've been and what I've been going through over the last year that has been 2021. You know, when I started back making videos, it was in 2020, around mid-2020, I want to say like June, somewhere around there. And because I had taken a 2-year break, well, didn't know I'm good for a break. Hey, I just come off for one. I had taken a 2-year break to kind of get myself in order. And then I started making videos again because, you know, we were in COVID, the earlier days of COVID. COVID is still going on. The pandemic is still real. Put on all your mask and wash all your hands. Stay in all your house. Stay away from people. The pandemic is real, folks. Anyway, the Omarion variant. I hear they didn't call it Omicron. They call it Omarion, you know. That flattened me out. Anyway, let me focus. You know, when I started making these videos again, it was because I was in the house looking at the same 4 walls and I was feeling bored. And I had all these ideas and all these different things I wanted to talk about. And I had nobody to talk about them with because I just in my house. So I decided to start making videos again as an outlet, as a way for me to focus on something other than the fact that I was locked up indoors, which I'm good with being locked indoors, but I no longer had the option to go outside because we were on what? Lockdown. So I started making these videos and it was fun, it was enjoyable, and it was really energizing. But as the year went on and we rolled over into 2021, I was just feeling tired, exhausted really. And I think the reason for that is because in addition to dealing with the challenges of the pandemic, I was also dealing with other social issues and personal issues, professional issues, just different things that any young adult would experience, but I felt like I was carrying this extra weight. You see, prior to COVID, I mean, I've been back here now for 6 years, so it's definitely way before COVID. I had moved back to Trinidad and Tobago. I was around end of 2015, early 2016, as you all would remember. I moved back here. And, you know, that was a huge life change. And then, of course, having to deal with reverse culture shock. And, you know, that is a very interesting thing because we often prepare ourselves, those of us in the diaspora, we prepare ourselves to go out into the world and move into developed countries, but we don't really talk about what happens when you return. You see, that's often because when you think about going out, it's normally a permanent decision. It's a one-way trip. You only come back here to visit for Christmas or Carnival. But when you actually decide to bring your life back here, you have to deal with a lot of things that you have to realize that are now permanent. So, you know, coming off the plane and having to deal with the different levels of customer service. I mean, Trinidad customer service. Even in the Caribbean, we are known for a certain level of customer service and it's not high. So, you know, having to deal with that and of course deal with the other different things, you know, just the way that people hang out, the way that people party, what people do on a weekend and all those different things that are so different to the life I had gotten accustomed to. It was jarring. It was very disruptive. It was a challenge and it still is for me in many ways. And then of course there's the pressure of homophobia. You know, I did a whole video where I spoke about, you know, that homophobic playlist, you know, turning on the radio and hearing a DJ play all this music about basically killing queer people and anybody who he considers to be not a real man and not acceptable. And having to hear that on the radio and having to deal with that even in day-to-day life. You know, you're going into a bank or you're calling the bank or the cable company or somebody on the phone because there's an issue with some product that you have and having to deal with the way that they speak to you. And, you know, sometimes even hearing them sniggering with somebody in the background because they're making fun of your voice. I remember once I called the bank, I had something to get clarified with my credit card and it took me over a half hour to even get the process started because they needed to authenticate my identity for over a half hour because they could not believe that my voice belonged to a man. The guy actually said that to me flat out. And those type of things, it was really weighing on me. And the fact that it's been weighing on me now for almost 6 years, plus you're dealing with the weight of the pandemic, it just felt like it was too much for one person. So how did I deal with all of this? I did exactly what Trent does best. I went into my own little world. I went into my own little bubble. My fantasy land. Remember, I tell all that I live in a music video. So I went into my little world of fantasy and I sat down and I played Nintendo all day, all night. One of my closest friends in the whole wide world who's watching this video bought me a Nintendo for Christmas last year, a Nintendo Switch, if you see me, and it's yellow too, clearly, I like yellow. So I'm sitting down there playing my little Nintendo for hours and hours and hours. I'm not joking. I checked my Pokemon logs the other day, Pokemon Sword. Yes, I play Pokemon Sword, hardcore. And that's not a plug, although they should be paying me for just saying that. I have played 220 hours of Pokemon Sword from the months of March to September. For some hardcore gamers, that may not seem like a lot. But for me to dedicate 220 hours of my life to hatching eggs and battling people all day long, that's a lot. So I played my game. And then, of course, I went outside in the yard and I picked peas. And I talked on the phone for hours and hours about all kind of random topics. And I just had fun. I basically went into my world and I said, I like it here and I'm staying in here. But for me, the challenge is not getting into that space, that peaceful space and that comfort zone. The challenge is coming back out. But then as the world started to actually physically open back up, I realized that, I need to get accustomed to being in front of people again. Because I stayed in my little box and I'm refusing to move. And you see with me, another thing I do, I have this challenge of perfectionism. And the way perfectionism manifests in my life is not just because I want to do things right and do things perfectly, is that it gives me an excuse to come up with sexy reasons to stay in my comfort zone. I can't do this unless I have the perfect graphic. I have to have the best perfect graphic to put on this document in order to send it out. And then I end up taking 3 months to come up with a graphic that I could have actually done in 20 minutes. But I was making it a 3-month process because it was giving me a reason to procrastinate and stay in my comfort zone. So what have I learned in my time away? What have I learned while I was in my little box? I have learned a lot about myself. Like I learned that, for instance, I need to accept myself where I am as I am. Making these videos, I don't think people fully understand the process that goes into it. Often when I turn on this camera, I have to rev myself up. I have to push myself to be Trini Trent. I have to be on 10. I feel like this is what I tell myself. I need to make sure I bring a certain level of energy every time I turn on the camera because that's what people have gotten accustomed to. But then the other day I sat back and I said to myself, Trent, when you started this video, you were under 25. You were like 23, 24. You were young. I still am. But I was young. Now I am closer to 35. My energy levels are not the same. My personality is there, but the energy levels aren't always going to be the same. So pushing myself and revving myself up to level 10 is not possible every single day. Sometimes I might just be a 1. I might be a 3. I might be a 6. I might be an 8. It depends on where I am. And I realize that me pushing myself and thinking, okay, if I can't be 10, then I can't make the video. That's not fair to myself and is not fair to you as people who enjoy the content that I make and enjoy the conversations. And of course, it's not fair to the ideas that I have flowing through my mind that I feel like I want to share, need to be shared with the world. It's not fair to that creative process because that's the perfectionism. I tell myself if I'm not going to be perfectly at 10, then I can't express myself. And all that does is suppress the energy that I have. And it's not healthy for me. So I've learned now that I just need to show up as I am, how I feel on that day. Now, if I feel like I just don't want to make a video, period, I ain't making a video. But if it is that, okay, today I feel creative and I'm only on a 4, I'm just going to show up as a 4. And I have to let that story go that that's what people expect from me, to be a 10, to be a 10. I created that story in my head. Nobody ever wrote that in the comment section. So I need to really be very clear on that and let it go. Another thing that I came to terms with is being proud of my journey. I've been on YouTube now, as I said, for almost 10 years. I have done, and I counted them, almost 250 videos. And most of them are actually not visible on this channel. I only have like 20 something videos still visible on the channel. But most of those videos aren't up. And I actually took those videos. I didn't delete them, but I put them away, tucked them away in my little archive, put them away in like what? That was like right before I came back in like sometime in June 2020. I did that because I wanted people to listen to the ideas that I had now, my present ideas, accept me for who I am now, instead of using the past videos and the ideas that I shared before, instead of focusing on that version of Trent. Because I actually started seeing comments and people saying, you know, I miss your old stuff. Why don't you make stuff like your old stuff? I miss old you. I miss old Trent. And I was like, hey, what's going on here? You know, I started to feel like probably how Mariah does feel. You know, I had to bring it back to Mariah. You know, I was like, is this how she feels when people say they miss 90s Mariah? And they miss early Mariah? And they miss young Mariah? Is this how she feels? Because it's not nice. It is not nice. I am sitting down here and I'm feeling like, listen, y'all, can I just be me today? So what I did is I just put all the old stuff on private and I just made the newer stuff. And I was hoping that, you know, maybe that's how I'm going to win people over. They're going to like me today and they're going to kind of forget that old stuff. And then I'll be able to just move forward from there. But then all I was doing is tucking away all the work that I've done and not allowing that work to live in its own, because I was that person at that time. That was how I showed up in the world at that time. And that work is still valid. There's some great videos that I made. Not all of them are my favorite things, but I have made some great videos and ideas and conversations that are no longer up. And I feel like, hey, they deserve a chance to breathe. And it's also another reason I put them away too, is because I didn't want people to judge me based on an old version of me. I didn't want people to sit down and watch a video I made in 2013 about X topic and say, well, and completely discredit what I'm saying today based on what I said in 2013, instead of just appreciating and saying that's who he was, but that's not who he is today. So I kind of had to come to terms and say, you know what, people are going to do what they're going to do. I just need to make sure that who I am today is clear and represents myself as I am now. And if they choose to focus on old Trent, well, that's it. That's the business. So what's coming? What's my next step? What's my next move? Well, recently, I actually rejoined Twitter. As many of you all know, I left Twitter years ago. I think it was early 2018, late 2017. I made the decision to leave Twitter. I just didn't like Twitter anymore. Actually, I left Facebook and Instagram, all three at the same time, and stopped making YouTube videos at the same time. I just shut everything down. And it's because I just felt like with all the stuff I was going through, all the challenges I just laid out, and other things personally and professionally, and things I needed to focus on, like I really wanted to get my life together. With all those different things happening, I needed peace. As I said, I'm very good at going in my little world. So part of going in my little world means that I need to cut off avenues to the outside world. And to me, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that just felt like noise. It didn't feel like it was necessary. So I let it all go and I focused on me and it worked out for the better. But recently I got back on Twitter. I said, you know, I want to be part of certain conversations and I have ideas I want to share. And I wasn't making YouTube videos. And I was like, let me just try Twitter. And it's been really fun thus far. You know, you can follow me on Twitter if you want. That's at Trini Trent. I'm not doing this to beg for followers, but I'm just letting you know I'm on Twitter. And it's been nice. Another thing, and this is tied into me accepting my journey and what was, is that you see all those videos that I tucked away? Some of them are really, really good. And I'm trying to think of ways to bring them back out into the world on the channel. So I might actually just put them back out, a couple of them, just put them back out on the channel, or I might actually do different things. I have different ideas of what I want to do with some of those videos and how I want to reintroduce them to the world. So keep your eye on the channel. That means you have to subscribe. You have to subscribe to me here. This is Trini Trent TV on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, because if you ain't subscribed, you wouldn't see what I'm doing. Or if you don't follow me anywhere else, you wouldn't know. So just subscribe to the channel so when I put them back out, you would see them. And then the different ideas that I have and I actually act on them, you will see them. And another thing I've been doing while I've been away, it's a hobby that I've kind of really gotten into and it's something I really enjoy, is making playlists. Like, you know, I spoke about streaming music in the Caribbean and in the developing world like a year ago. And I talked about that process and what it's been like. And over that year, I started using Apple Music. This is not a plug. I just saying, but Apple, slide man, I don't know something now. I have basically been using the Apple Music and having a lot of fun by making playlists. Now, I share the playlists with my friends and we talk about them all the time. I actually got the idea from one of my very close friends because I was going through some really tough times and he was saying, trying to love music. Why don't you make playlists that will help you work through your different moods and work through your different problems when they arise? So I started making those playlists and true to trend form, perfectionism, I started to really develop them and come up with graphics and write paragraphs and write all these different descriptions because you could do all that on Apple. And it's really become something awesome. And some of those playlists I really love sharing, like making them public and sharing them and just letting random, just put them up on my private Instagram or put it up on Twitter or whatever and share it with the world. So what I'm going to do here on the channel is from time to time discuss some of those playlists. I really haven't fully committed to how often I'm going to do it, but I think it will be really nice because it's really interesting because it allows me to dive into music and dive into music history a bit and also dive into different ideas and pop culture topics and really flesh things out and have a lot of fun. And I would really love to share them here because I think they are great conversation starters. And of course, they give us a chance to appreciate different artists and different sounds and different things in new ways. So I'm excited about that. This was plenty talk, but that's how I roll. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know many of you are probably rolling your eyes and saying, oh, here he go again, another welcome back video. And then he going to disappear in 2 months again. We are all in this together. We are all in this together. We just trying to get through the pandemic. Let me roll the audience know this is how I ebb and flow. I am doing the best. I'm doing the best I can with what I got. You understand? As Mariah would say, I am doing the best I can with what I got. So if you're down for the ride, join me. If you're sick of seeing my face, what I'm going to do? Thank you so much for watching this video. It's great for me to be back around y'all. I hope this is met with love. And if it's not met with love, well, hold your, as we say in Trinidad, I ain't going to finish the statement because I don't want this video to get banned from YouTube. But anyway, thank you, and I will check on you next time. Later.